Hello everyone, I'll be quick. Before we start, please subscribe for a future story. It'll sure make my day. Enjoy! AITA for skipping my brother's wedding because his fiancée excluded my wife from the guest list? I don't even know how to start this without getting pissed off all over again. My brother's wedding is supposed to be next month, and instead of being excited about it, I'm sitting here questioning if I even want to go. And the reason? His fiancée Emily decided that my wife Lisa isn't invited. It didn't make sense at first. I thought maybe there was a mistake. I mean, we've been married for 5 years. There's no way she wouldn't be on the list. So I asked James when I saw him at our parents' house the other day, "Hey man, Lisa's invite got lost or what?" He didn't even look up from his drink. "She's not coming." I just looked at him, waiting for him to laugh or something. When he didn't, I asked, "What do you mean she's not coming?" He looked at Mom across the room like he didn't want to get into it in front of her. "Emily doesn't want her there." "Emily doesn't want her there? What the hell does that even mean?" Look, I'm not trying to make a big deal out of this. Well, it is a big deal. Mom must have sensed where things were going because she walked over and put a hand on my shoulder. "Let it go," she said. "Let it go? Lisa's my wife. How am I supposed to just let it go?" I didn't say anything else. I just walked out. Lisa was waiting for me in the car and she could tell right away that something was off. "What happened?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. I didn't even know how to explain it. I just pulled out of the driveway. Back at home, I finally told her, "Emily didn't put you on the guest list." "What?" "Yeah, James said it's what Emily wants." "No, seriously." I didn't say anything. "So what, I'm not welcome?" I told her I didn't get it either, that I'd fix it, but honestly, I had no clue how to fix it. The next day, I called James again. "Listen, man, I don't know what kind of issue Emily has, but Lisa's coming, period. I can't, man. Emily's dead set on it. She's your fiancé, not your dictator. I'm not having this fight again." Again? So he'd already decided to accept it without even telling me? "James, she's family. She's your family, not Emily's." I didn't even know what to say to that. I just hung up. Later that night, Mom called. "You need to pick your battles," she said. I couldn't believe I was hearing this from her. "This isn't a battle. It's my wife. She's not the one getting married, honey." I didn't even know how to respond. Meanwhile, Lisa was in the living room scrolling through wedding dress ideas on her phone. She didn't say much, but I could tell she was waiting for me to say something. "I'm not going without you," I finally said. "You shouldn't have to make that choice. The whole thing's been hanging over us like a dark cloud." James called again yesterday. I picked up, half expecting an apology or something. Instead, he said, "You're really gonna miss my wedding over this?" I didn't know what to say, so I just listened. "Man, it's one day. Can't you just come, have a good time, and let Emily have this?" "And Lisa? What's she supposed to do, just sit at home while everyone talks about how she wasn't invited?" He didn't have an answer. Dad's the only one who seems to get it. He took me out for a beer yesterday and said, "You're not wrong, but you know how your brother is. He's just trying to keep the peace." "What peace?" I asked. "You think this wedding's worth losing your brother over?" That's the question, isn't it? Because right now, it sure as hell feels like he's losing me. Lisa was chopping vegetables in the kitchen when I walked in. She didn't say anything at first, just kept cutting. I watched her for a second before finally speaking. "We need to talk about the wedding." "What about it?" "I don't think I'm going." "You're seriously not going?" "Yes, I am not going. I don't want you to do that for me. It's not for you. It's because it's the right thing to do." "I get that, but it's your brother's wedding. This isn't some random event you can just ignore." "I know, I don't see how I can walk in there like everything's fine." Lisa didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached for a glass and poured some water. "What does your mom say?" "You can guess. She thinks I should go, keep the peace and all that." "And your dad?" "He's on my side, mostly." "And James, what's he saying?" "He keeps saying it's Emily's day and I should just let it go." Lisa pressed her lips together, and for a second I thought she was going to throw the glass across the room. Instead, she just looked at it. "I never thought Emily liked me much," she said after a moment. "What are you talking about?" "She's always been distant. You know, like she puts up with me because she has to." I didn't know what to say to that. I never really thought about it that way before, but looking back, I guess she had a point. Emily was polite but never really warm. I mean, remember last Thanksgiving? What about it? She spent half the night talking with your mom and barely said 2 words to me. That's just Emily. She's quiet. Quiet doesn't mean ignoring someone on purpose. I didn't have a response for that. We sat down for dinner and Lisa barely touched her food. I could tell she had a million things running through her head. I reached for her hand, but she pulled away and stood up to clear the plates. "Look," I said, "I need you to be honest. Do you want me to go or not?" "I don't want you to go without me, but I don't want you to regret it either." "I won't regret standing by you." "I wouldn't do this to Emily if it were the other way around." "I know." She looked at me for a moment, then walked to the living room. I stayed behind and finished cleaning up. Later that night, James called. "Mom says you're being stubborn." "Of course she does. Look, man, it's one day. Just come, sit in the back, have a drink, and let Emily do her thing. You're asking me to show up and pretend my wife doesn't exist. I'm not asking you to pretend anything, just compromise. Compromise? That's what you're calling it? Look, I get it. Emily's being firm about this. Firm? James, she's being an asshole. There was a long pause. I don't want to fight about this. Too late. I hung up and sat down on the couch. Lisa walked in a few minutes later and sat beside me without a word. We both watched TV. I could feel the weight of it all settling in. James wasn't budging. Emily sure as hell wasn't budging. And now it was on me to figure out if I was going to let them walk all over us, or if I was really going to miss my only brother's wedding. Dad called me up and asked if I wanted to grab a drink. He didn't say it outright, but I knew why. We met at this old bar we used to go to when I first turned 21. Same wobbly table in the back corner, same sticky floors. He slid a beer over to me and leaned back in his chair. So, he said, you're really not going? Not without Lisa. James is pissed. Yeah, well, so am I. You know, when I married your mom, my brother wasn't a fan, thought she was too bossy. And he didn't come to the wedding. I didn't know that. It's not something you bring up at Christmas. Did you care? Of course I cared, he said, but I had to put your mom first. That's how it works. James doesn't get that. James has always been, easygoing, hates confrontation. He's just trying to keep things smooth with Emily. At my expense. At both your expenses. I didn't have anything to say to that. We sat there in silence for a while, just drinking. Later, I went to see Mom. She was in the kitchen stirring a pot of something that smelled good, but I wasn't hungry. Dad told you to come talk to me? She asked without turning around. Maybe. I just don't understand why you're making such a big deal out of this. Mom, it's my wife. And it's James's wedding. So what? I'm just supposed to show up alone and pretend it's fine? Sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do for family. Lisa is my family. You know Emily isn't doing this to be mean. Then why is she doing it? She didn't have an answer for that. After I left, I drove around for a while before going home. Lisa was in the backyard pulling weeds out of the garden. I stood there watching her for a minute before stepping outside. Talk to my parents, I said. She didn't stop what she was doing. Yeah? Mom thinks I should just go without you. Shocking. Dad gets it though. So what are you thinking? I don't want to go, but I also don't want this to blow up our whole family. It already feels like it has. I didn't say anything. Later that night, James called again. You still being stubborn? Still being a pushover? Look, I get it. Emily's got issues with Lisa, but it's not worth this. It's worth it to me. Man, it's one day. Yeah, and it's one marriage. Do you have to make everything a fight? I'm not making this a fight. You are. Mom's gonna be upset if you don't come. Yeah, well, Lisa's upset right now, but I guess that doesn't count. James didn't have much to say after that. Lisa sat down beside me once I hung up. So? I'm not going. She gave me a small nod, then leaned back against the couch. I stared at the ceiling, wondering how long it would take before James stopped being an idiot. I ran into my uncle while I was running some errands. He looked exited to see me. Hey kid, he said, you ready for the big day? Not going. He paused, looking at me like I just told him I was moving to Mars. What do you mean not going? Emily didn't invite Lisa. Damn, your mom must be losing her mind. Pretty much. You sure you want to do this? Yeah. James say anything to you? Just the usual. Emily's decision, not his fault, blah blah. Sounds about right. I'm not changing my mind. Didn't say you should. Just thinking about Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that family stuff. Gonna be awkward. I didn't answer. He was right, but I didn't want to hear it. Later that night, Lisa and I were sitting outside watching the neighbor's dog dig holes in their yard. She had a glass of wine in her hand, and I had a beer. You think James will ever get it? She asked. Doubt it. I keep thinking about all those times I tried to talk to Emily. Make an effort. She never wanted anything to do with me. Yeah. Remember when I offered to help with the bridal shower? She ignored my messages for weeks, then suddenly had everything handled. Guess that should have been a sign. I didn't think it had come to this, though. Neither did I. The next morning, I ran into James at Dad's place. He was standing by the truck talking to Dad about something when I pulled up. Here we go, he said when he saw me. I got out of the car and walked over. Not here to fight. Could have fooled me. Dad looked between us. Why don't you boys talk inside? We ignored him. I cut straight to it. I need you to be straight with me. Why is Emily so against Lisa? You already know. No, I don't. She thinks Lisa's too much, too loud, you know how she is. That's not a reason to cut her out. Emily wants what she wants, man. Dad finally stepped in. Enough. You're both acting like idiots. James turned to him. You think I want this? I'm in the middle here. No, you're not, I said. You're picking a side. Look, it's done. The invites are out. I can't change it. Won't change it, you mean? He didn't deny it. Lisa was quiet when I got home. She was going through an old photo album on the couch, pictures of us at family events, holidays, birthdays. I sat down next to her and flipped a page. There was a picture of Lisa and James laughing over something at a barbecue. She tapped the picture. Guess those days are over. I didn't know what to say. The day of the wedding, I woke up to a text from my mom. Last chance to come, everyone's asking about you. I didn't answer. Lisa was still asleep, curled up on her side of the bed. I sat there for a while looking at the wall, trying to figure out if I should feel bad. I didn't. A couple of hours later, I was out in the backyard tossing a ball for the dog when Dad showed up. He didn't knock, just let himself through the gate and stood there watching me for a minute. Still not going? He asked. I am no, and no one is changing my mind. James is going to hold on to this for a while. Not my problem. You know, it's not too late to change your mind. It is for me. We didn't say much after that, just sat there watching the dog tear through the grass. Eventually, he stood up and patted my shoulder before heading out. Lisa came outside a little later holding 2 cups of coffee. Your dad? Yeah. They text you. Mom did. Lisa didn't say anything, just sipped her coffee. By noon, the texts from James started rolling in. You're being ridiculous. This isn't about Lisa, it's about you being stubborn. Congrats on making this all about yourself. I didn't reply. Lisa grabbed my phone and set it face down on the table. Forget it. A couple of hours passed, and then my mom called. I didn't pick up. A minute later, she texted, James looks miserable. I put the phone in my pocket and walked inside. Lisa followed me. You okay? Yeah. We spent the afternoon watching some random movie neither of us paid attention to. Every now and then, my phone would buzz, but I ignored it. Later that evening, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find my cousin standing there in his suit, tie undone. Mind if I come in? I stepped aside and he walked in, took a beer from the fridge like he lived here. He sat down on the couch and kicked off his shoes. Wedding sucked. Tension all over the place. Your mom was crying, your dad looked pissed, and James looked like he was ready to kill someone. Sounds like a great time. People kept asking where you were. James just kept saying you were busy. Wow. Honestly, you didn't miss much. We sat in silence for a bit before he finally stood up. All right, just wanted to let you know you made the right call. Emily was, Emily. After he left, Lisa turned to me. So think James will talk to you after this? Doubt it. A week passed before James finally called. I answered, Hey, you happy? What do you want me to say? I can't believe you actually skipped it. I told you I wasn't coming without Lisa. Mom won't let this go. She's not the one married to Lisa. You really think this was worth it? I looked over at Lisa, who was folding laundry on the couch. Yeah, I do. Guess that's it then. I guess. He hung up without another word. Lisa walked over and sat down beside me, resting her head on my shoulder. We didn't say anything for a long time, just sat there listening to the hum of the dishwasher. I thought about calling James back, trying to fix things, but then I looked at Lisa and I knew I made the right call. Thanks for watching. If you liked the story, hit subscribe. See you in the next one.